Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our sisters, and the message that she sent to me reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, I have come here on your platform so that I can confess that my husband is a ritualist. In fact, my husband lied to me. Me and my husband, we used to stay in South Africa. So there was a time when my husband said that he wanted to go to Zim. And at that time, when he went to Zim alone, we had a very big fight. And upon his return, I never even bothered myself to check his passport. But what my husband did is that he had gone to Mozambique. He got smuggled into Mozambique illegally, and they went to this other traditional healer. When he went to that traditional healer, my husband was then given this other flower. This flower, a lot of people in South Africa, they love to use it as a hedge at their houses. They love to use that small green tree that is always green at all the times in front of their yards. That is the type of plant that my husband was given by that traditional healer in Mozambique. So me and my husband, when I saw that we were drifting further apart each and every day, I thought that maybe he was cheating on me. So I started to investigate. One day when my husband was not at home, I then lifted up the bed, and when I looked underneath the bed, I then saw that there were these other nails that seemed as if the person who had hit the nails into our base bed, the person was in a rush. So I removed those nails, and I saw that inside the base bed there was this other denim jean jacket that my husband used to. There was this other jacket that once belonged to my husband, and I had been looking for it for a very long time. So I thought that now that I had found it, maybe I was going to get the answer as to why my husband was treating me in such a way. I then took that jacket, and when I opened it, I placed it on top of the bed, Brother Nashi. That was when I saw that flower, and this flower, it just disappeared. When this flower disappeared, I didn't even know what to do anymore. My husband then called me. Even though he was at work, he sensed that I had seen everything that he never wanted me to see. He just said, "What have you done? What have you done?" When he came back home late at night, we had a very big fight until my husband confessed to me. This was after I had threatened him. I said, "It is fine. So you were cheating on me. That is the reason as to why you have been hiding your jacket. So I am going to wait for you until you would have fallen asleep, and I am going to take some cooking oil, and I am going to boil the cooking oil, and I am going to burn you with the cooking oil." So my husband, him being scared, he then confessed. He said, "My wife, at that time when I went to Zim, I lied to you. I had gone to Mozambique. You should have checked my passport. I never left South Africa. This is what my passport is saying." So I then looked at his passport, and I saw that indeed the passport was saying that he had never left South Africa. Brother Nashi, he confessed everything to me. My husband then told me that we had to wait for 9 months. Then after 9 months, that was when he was supposed to go back home. And when we would have gone back home, we were not supposed to inform our other relatives that we were coming back home. We had to do all of these things in secret. And once we had landed in Zim, we were supposed to go to the suburbs. That is where we were going to buy our house. I laughed at my husband and I said, "Do you even know what you are talking about?" Because the area where he wanted us to buy a house, it is in an area whereby the most richest people in Zim, they live there. So I thought that my husband, he was high on something. But then after 9 months, that was when, Brother Nashi, I started. Then after 9 months, Brother Nashi, one morning when I woke up, my husband, he had already woken up and he was busy whistling. So I said, "A grown-up man like you, what is so good about this morning that you wake up whistling?" My husband then showed me $10,500 that he had picked up in our one-roomed house that we were staying in South Africa. And this thing, it kept on happening for 9 days. Each and every morning when we would wake up, we would find $10,500 in our small room. Until the money was enough, then we traveled all the way. We went to Zim, and we went to that area where my husband wanted to buy the house, and we bought this other empty space, and then we started the building project. After we had finished building, we then returned back to Zim. When we returned back to Zim, my husband had been informed by that traditional healer that once we would have entered into our yard, what we were supposed to do is that we were supposed to strip ourselves naked without bathing. We were supposed to make love with each other. And this is what we did. We made love to each other, and we just left our clothes at the place where we had stripped ourselves, and we went indoors and we continued with the rituals. And late at night, me and my husband, we then walked out of our house. Then my husband looked and saw that there was no one who was walking. So he then took the pick and the shovel. Then we started digging and digging until the hole that we were digging was deep enough. That was when we took that plant and we buried in there. But before we had buried it, Brother Nashi, then my husband told me to bend over. So as I was bending over, my husband came and he mounted me from the back. Then we started to make love. The way that my husband was standing, that hole, it was in between his legs as he was busy making love to me. When he felt that he was about to come, I then turned around and I started to play with his manhood until his seed had came out. And when his seed was coming out, I directed his manhood so that it was pointing downwards, and the seed fell on that plant. That is how we started to water. That is how we started to feed this plant that my husband was given by that traditional healer. After these rituals were done, we then buried it. Later on, my husband told me that we were supposed to buy a goat, slaughter that goat, and we had to feed this plant with the blood. We then took our kids from the village. We came and we stayed. Life was normal until recently my husband told me that it was time again for us to perform another ritual. And all along, I thought that after we had sacrificed this god, that was the end of the rituals. With everything that we had done, walking around naked in the middle of the night, I thought that we had paid a higher price. But my husband said that there is still more to come. I then asked my husband, why don't we go and buy 2 more gods, since you are saying that this plant, it now wants more blood? But my husband said no. Plant is tired of eating animal blood. It wants human blood. So I said, where are we going to get this human blood? Must I sacrifice one amongst my own relatives? Then my husband said, no. What we can do is that let us go late at night. You know, there are those drug addicts that are always roaming around the streets, those ones that have their family giving up on them. He said, if we can get one, we know that we can get away with murder. But I am really scared, Brother Nashi. I don't have the nerves to do it. My husband said, if you are scared, then we can actually hire some guys, those hitmen. Then they can go and they can actually murder these drug addicts or the homeless people or a mad person. Then those people, they would those people will collect the blood, then they'll give the blood to us so that we can feed our plant. But I cannot do that. I do not want to murder anyone. Please help me, Brother Nashi. Please help me, because I do not know what am I supposed to do anymore. I am really confused. Oh yes, I am so confused. I don't know what else am I supposed to do. Please help me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sisters.